I've been wanting to replace my car with an e-bike for the last couple of months. My car is costing me close to $1,000 a month, including car payment, insurance, fuel, and maintenance. Previously, I had experimented with an inexpensive, very compact folding e-bike, and I was hoping that it could get me to work and back, get me to the grocery store and back, and it was almost good enough to do it. I learned a lot from that experience. I ended up selling that little e-bike because it didn't have the range or the carrying capacity that I really needed to pull this off. And so I ended up actually buying myself a new e-bike. And this new e-bike is bigger, it's faster, it has a much higher payload capacity, and I absolutely love it. I've been commuting with it for about 3 weeks now, and I have to say that it will definitely replace my car. As soon as I can afford to sell my car, it's going to be gone. So what I decided to buy was the Burchda R5 Pro. This is a large full suspension mountain bike, 28 miles per hour, 65 miles of range, and it works beautifully. I think it actually looks pretty good too. So the tires on this bike are on 26-inch wheels. They're 4 inches wide, nice low pressure tires for a very comfortable ride. On the front of the bike, we have these very large adjustable shocks. The rear also has this suspension setup, which works very well. A large, very squishy, comfortable seat. These large hydraulic disc brakes, and it's sitting on this very simple and very elegant looking frame. Overall, this bike weighs about 75 pounds, which is a lot, but if you actually compare it to other e-bikes, even smaller folding e-bikes, it's actually not that heavy. So up front here, let me show you some of the controls. So to power it on, you just press this button and it comes on. Takes a second for it to boot up. And this bike does not have a key. Instead, you have to put in a password. And here is the screen. So you can see it's a very basic layout. Tells you your speed, your pedal assist level, which you can adjust. Goes up and down between 0 and 5. You have the trip odometer, the total odometer, which you can see I'm almost at 100 miles already. The max speed of my current trip, and the average speed of my current trip. All of that screen is controlled with this nice little pad here. We have lights, and personally I think this is one of the coolest looking headlights. I know a lot of e-bikes have these, but still very cool looking headlight, and it's fairly bright. And on the back we have this really nice tail light. It doesn't have any blinkers or brake lights, but still this is good enough for riding at nighttime, which I do every day. Also, if you press this button underneath the seat here, you can have a separate either blinking light or steady light, so you have a lot of options for visibility. I bought this bike for $1,100, which is a absolute steal. It also came with a lot of extras, which you have to pay extra for on a lot of other manufacturers' bikes. So we have real metal fenders here, and on the back, they work very well. Mirrors. So these mirrors, they're not the best mirrors on earth, but considering that most e-bikes don't even come standard with mirrors, it's amazing that you get them at all. I had to relocate this one out to the edge because in the stock form, all you can really see are your arms, but I decided to move this one out close to the grips, and it works much better out there. I can't really do the same thing here because of this wire here, but I don't use the right mirror as much anyways, so I may actually eventually take this one off. Over here, it came with a phone holder, and this is actually really important because there are a lot of features that you can adjust using your phone, and so having your phone with you while you're riding can be helpful, especially on longer trips. This rear rack here that the basket is mounted on came as a basically free extra, and it's good for I think like 55, 60 pounds, something like that, and that is very important to have. And then I have this basket as well, of course. So I bought this basket separately, and I use this every day. I put my backpack in here, and my grocery bag also fits perfectly in this basket. The only accessory that I'm really not going to use is this bike lock. I know Seattle is like a lot of other places these days, and basically every bicycle thief has a pair of bolt cutters on them, so this cable chain really isn't going to do anything whatsoever. But it is kind of nice that they included a lock, even if it isn't going to be the most effective one. And the last items this comes with are a tire pump, which is actually really good size for taking with you, and this toolkit with every tool that you could possibly need to repair everything on the bike. So to fold the bike, all you have to do is unlatch this giant thing, and then the bike will fold in half. So folding it like this obviously saves a lot of space in my apartment. I usually have a piano right there, but I just sold my old piano, Probably gonna get a new one, but right now my bike is living over in that side of the room, so I don't fold it that much, which is why I'm not very elegant at it, but with a little practice I could get a lot better. Once the bike is folded, that's how you access the battery. The battery is in the front part of the bike. So all you have to do is take the key, put it into the lock, unlock the battery, and the battery just slides right out. So this whole folding and battery operation are actually one of the most appealing things to me about this bike. There aren't a lot of really big full-size fat tire bikes like this that you can use for daily transportation and also fold into a small package. Most of the folding bikes have much smaller wheels and they just don't ride or perform as well. So I think this design is really cool. There's only a couple of designs that are like this, and this one just happens to be the most affordable. So anyways, let's talk about power. So like all class 3 e-bikes, this is a 750 watt motor. It's 1000 watts peak, and it can maintain speed basically on just about any grade that's reasonable. And this large tube up here is the battery. It is a 48 volts, 20 amp hour battery. I actually bought a second battery, which they will get to me eventually. For some reason, my first battery got shipped to a random address in New York. So hopefully that person enjoys their new battery, but they're getting me another one and that should be in here pretty soon. The single battery, the range is 65 miles, which is totally believable. And I think with 2 batteries, the range should be about 130 miles. And that is more than enough. That's basically an entire day's riding. This bike has a cadence sensor, not a torque sensor, and that could be good or bad depending on your point of view of things. It works fine for me, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but I don't mind it at all. And so basically the way it works is you basically pedal and it goes at a preset speed. If you want to use the bike as a scooter or motorcycle, depending on your point of view, you can use the twist throttle right here, and that gives you really good control over the speed. And for pedaling, this comes with an 8-speed Shimano gear shift. Works really, really well. It's well matched to the speed of the bike. If you're in 8th gear, you're not ghost pedaling, you are actually powering the bike still. And down in 1st gear is about as slow as you can go on this bike. If it were me designing a bike, I actually would have a lower set of gears for just pedaling without the motor, but I'm probably one of the few crazy people that actually pedals their e-bike, and so it doesn't make any sense for most manufacturers to actually include something like that. So if you're on flat surface, basically it's like pedaling a 1-speed bicycle, and so 1st gear is really your only option. If you're going a little bit downhill, maybe 2nd gear, but for the most part, this bike really needs to be in a pedal assist mode for it to actually function properly. This is actually just a very comfortable, very utilitarian e-bike, and that's really all I needed, and for $1,100 you just can't beat it. And now it's time to get it out of the apartment and take it on a ride. Before I head out, I wanted to show you the app really quick. And so here you can adjust the pedal assist level just like you can on the regular screen. It actually displays the voltage here, unlike on the regular screen over here. And everything else is all fairly similar. You can go into the app here and really start messing with the settings. A lot of these settings you can actually adjust on this as well. If you hit the plus and minus button, that'll bring up the settings menu. But here you can see you can change the speed limit, and when you adjust the top speed, it actually will rescale the different pedal assist levels. So say you reduce the top speed in half, it will reduce the level 1 pedal assist speed by half as well. Some of the other options are things like start mode, which changes whether or not the motor comes on from a dead stop. Shutting it off so it doesn't turn on from a dead stop will actually save you quite a bit of power. The clear trip button is how you reset the trip odometer, and that's really all this does. But this is a much faster and more convenient way of adjusting the various features on the screen here. Some of these other things that you can see up here, like the current limit, you can actually adjust with the controller directly. I don't recommend doing that unless you want to reduce it. The wheel diameter you can change as well if you decide to put different wheels on your bike, and it doesn't allow you to edit the advanced parameter setting. You probably wouldn't really want to mess with that kind of stuff anyways, because a lot of this will have to do with like the motor specifications on this particular bike. So that's not really a feature we want to mess with. I'm sure someone out there has the password for it, but this is just not something that you really need to mess with, because you can really cause a lot of damage to your bike if you get it wrong. Riding around through neighborhoods like this, I generally use pedal assist 2 or 3, which gives you somewhere between 7 and 13 miles per hour, assuming you're using the stock settings. I do actually like to pedal a lot because it gives you a lot better acceleration, a lot better control over your speed, even though there is kind of a target set for the pedal assist levels. You can vary that a little bit by pedaling. One nice thing about this bike is riding over curbs is no problem. Between the fat tires and all the suspension, you have a lot of suspension travel and very soft settings. You can just ride over whatever you want, no problem. The hydraulic brakes come in handy when you're going down these really steep hills. Seattle is a very hilly city, and everything is on a steep hill, so having those hydraulic disc brakes really keeps the brakes cool, gives you a lot of confidence in going down these hills. You don't feel like you're out of control ever. Riding on more major roads like this, even going uphill, and this road actually does go fairly steeply uphill, bumping up the pedal assist level to level 4 or 5, 20 miles an hour is pretty easy to maintain, and so that's what I tend to do when I'm actually having to deal with traffic. West Seattle has some of the steepest roads in the city, and this area is no different. Basically, the west side of West Seattle, going down towards Alki Beach, is a very steep and windy road, and again, having those disc brakes really helps a lot. Having soft suspension on these really rough concrete roads actually helps a lot. That soft suspension really takes the pain out of hitting every concrete block as you ride along. So here I am riding in actually a very major road going up to High Point, which is actually the highest point in Seattle. At this point, I've been pedaling up and down the hill a couple of times, and you can see I'm still maintaining 25 miles per hour, no problem, which is the speed limit. And after a steep descent back down towards the water, this road actually runs right along the water, and it's just a nice, windy, quiet road that you can ride along. Again, 25 miles per hour pedaling is absolutely no problem for this bike. It seems to be where it's happiest. Heading back up to the hill towards where I live. Again, a very super steep, windy road, and the bike does slow down quite a bit. You can't maintain 20 miles an hour very easily up here, but 10-15 miles per hour is still possible, even up this extremely steep road, after having ridden around West Seattle for the last hour, up and down the hills. This is what this bike is really good at. And if you listen to the sound of the bike, that's not the motor making all that whirring noise, that's actually those big knobby tires. I forgot to reset the odometer at the beginning of that bike ride, so this should actually be about 14 miles. So after about 14 miles, you can see I'm down 1 bar. If you noticed while I was riding, the bars actually dropped down to about 1 or 2 bars of power. And that's just because there is a bit of voltage sag, and I had about 1,000 feet of elevation gain during that ride. Because there was so much elevation gain during that bike ride, I was really pushing the motor hard several times. And anytime the voltage sags, the battery level will drop. But the way this system is set up, it doesn't seem to return again until you turn off and on the power. So that's kind of an interesting thing to note. However, now that I'm back, you can see that I have about 4 bars of power, which is still quite a bit of power. I have a lot of range left if I really want it.